Alright, so I want to kind of go over this list. That's a little too big. I would have done this on my normal computer, but um, it does not want to cooperate. So we're going to do these. Hello. We're going to go over a little bit. This isn't the history of exercise science. This is more of like my ideas around it. Um, so these are the points that I want to cover, obviously. Uh, okay, I suck at hosting right now. So this was like a note to myself, basically, just talking. This is me going over kind of the outline, and this will kind of give you guys a idea of what I'm looking at, what I'm trying to do, uh, what I'm seeing can happen. So I guess wherever I look, my eyes are going to change. Maybe the left side. Okay. So, I want to go deep into all this stuff, and there's going to be more and more depth as we go. Oh, excuse me. Let me try that again. I want to go deep on this stuff, and there's going to be more and more history as we go. For example, like getting records in doing investigative history or archaeology, tracking down journals, notes, and basic stories about things about physical education, in some kind of formal training. And then, because I want to go, I don't know if I bring that up later, but that's kind of the idea of adding depth. That's just an example. Water deck. And I'm not going to be able to edit this because it's on my laptop. My graphics card isn't good enough for my computer, so I had to buy a new laptop to get this going. Modern academic teachings. So, we need to talk about exercise science as it's become a university degree. It's only been a bachelor's of science for about 10 years now, depending on the college. Um, which is like talking about the history of the degree, the university bringing it in. It started off as a Bachelor of Arts back in the, I want to say, 60s or 70s. History of education. Um, is this the one where I was trying to talk about the professors? See, I don't even get my shit together. Professors. I'm just gonna make it that now. I'm gonna kind of work on this as we go. Like I said, these are just notes to myself. So the modern academic teachings, the university, technically history of the degree. So actually, let's just bump these. History of education of professors. Most professors up until, again, the last like 10 years were actually really most professors until the last like few years did not have degrees in exercise science. uh, some colleges are just getting a first PhD done in exercise science, so it's not as complete or as dense of an academic field as something like physics, engineering, or medicine. So the need for education over time. Uh, Obviously, first, the hunter-gatherer society. We need to teach how to hunt with bows, mostly spears, because those are easier to make and don't take as much skill. And for millions of years, we used spears. And I think for hundreds of thousands of years, we've used bows. Um, and they need to find, cook, and manage home. There is a good saying from my old, what did he teach? Something, motor, yeah, biomechanics. I think this is what it was. Biomechanics and motor learning professor. If that wasn't the course, it should be a course. Putting those two together. Movement science. The most important science in the world. Because without movement, because something like this. I'm messing it up. It's the most important science because human movement is the most important event in the known universe. Because, you can say stars or life or whatever, but for humans to understand and conquer the world as we had to do it with human movement. And so figuring out how to move better and get people to move better sounds redundant. Is the most important science in the world. And a saying from my old physiology professor. Human bodies are more complicated than rocket ships. How can I prove it? Build rocket ships. Accidental doesn't count. Yeah. The human body is insanely complex, and we're trying to figure out how to improve it by using movement. So this has been biologically instilled in us. As we get stronger, we learn more. It's how we become so good at survival. We hunt with spears. This also includes hunting tactics, tracking tactics, and then also physically tracking the animals. There's a lot of education you have to do, a lot of physical education you have to do before you can even get a successful kill. You have to, like I said, track it. You have to learn how to throw a spear. You have to be able to be quiet and move in a certain way. You can't just run as fast as you can at a deer, because the deer can run faster. You have to be tactical, you have to be tactful, and you have to be able to move very carefully. When you're finding, cooking, and managing food, you got to be able to carry loads of food home, or if you get a kill, you got to be able to quarter and carry it. You'll need to find berries, find vegetables that you can eat off of. Hopefully there aren't any other animals. You have to defend yourself, because it's also physical. And it's like, these are the activities of daily living: moving, nomadic, hunting all the time. It's finding ways to survive. You have to do that with your body. And then we get into agriculture, and this is what we started doing different things with our body. So with agriculture, we started to farm more. We learned how to plant crops, and we used tools like plows, usually driven by animals. But this is a new form of physical labor. And you can argue it all the way down to even a coder is a new form of physical labor. It's just very, very less demanding. But we also started constructing cities. Like before, we would build shelters, but now we're constructing cities, temples, great artwork. You know, much more being creative with our hands and tools. Did they have a training program for this? No. It's the nature of the human body to get stronger to its environment. This is what we use exercise in a gym to create an artificial environment to target specific physiological dogmas. So, for example, lifting heavy weights brings stronger muscles is a physiological dogma. So, if you have in your normal day, this is what between a natural environment and an artificial environment, here's how I mean this. If you are in a natural environment, you are working, you are surviving, you aren't lifting extra weights in your free time for whatever fun or health benefit. You are moving things because you have to move them in order to eat, in order to do your job, to which then gets food. And I know if you keep going back, you can probably trace it to why you need to go to the gym, but the idea is you go to the gym and you don't have to move these weights for any reason other than to create an artificial environment on yourself. That way that your body can respond to that environment in a targeted way. The dogma of strength is like we just talked about. It's natural it seems to here. Gosh, I need to organize this better. Oops. It seems to be the allostatic nature of cells. So there's homeostatic, which means everything's trying to stay in balance. Allostatic means that there's a range and your body goes within that range in order to keep the balance. So if you think about it, this whole range is within homeostasis, and the ability of the body to move around inside of this range is allostasis or allostatic. So the allostatic nature of cells, the nature of them to fluctuate, fundamental unit of life to improve it is their natural ability to improve their physical abilities to use resources and improve I use the word improve so much. Anyways, they improve their physical abilities to use resources and improve the overall structure's ability to interact with the environment. Which means like adding in more mitochondria, adding in more cilia on the end so that they can move depending on the nature of the cell, adding in more key functions in certain parts. If it's a muscle cell, you're adding in more nuclei. You're adding satellite nuclei. And we have only recently learned about significant data about our bodies. Now we have the technology to look super close at the time and the time to work through the data. Because about like when I was talking about 10 years ago, we're just understanding the technology to look super close. I mean, we've had it for a while, but we just found out of like a new ligament in the ankle a couple years ago, and that the brain has a lymphatic system. So we're still learning. The lymphatic system is an immune system. Before they thought that the brain had the blood-brain barrier and it just cleaned itself, and that was how the brain kept from getting an infection. But it turns out that it also has the branches of the immune system, the lymphatic system, within it. Yeah, it was less than 100 years ago we figured out that neurons ran on electricity. And so now we need to now we have all of these new exercise scientists, all of these researchers conducting hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of studies on different aspects that they find interesting, which is totally fine. We just have to group all that information together into a meaningful, usable information retainer. And so now I'm trying to go over, I hope this is all trying to make sense. I'm trying to go over, this is my overview of exercise science, and I'm trying to get it down, but we'll get there. First principles of exercise science, is essentially physiology. Medicine, medical science adjacent is exercise science. There was going to be more in this. I just write, these are quick notes. understanding the body and key functions. Yeah, exercise science is medical adjacent. We are influencing biological events in order to produce healthier or stronger biological events in the future. That is essentially the same function as medicine, except medicine is much more hands on. Stitching, wound cleaning, those are actions to increase the event of like positive physiological development. Like you don't want secondary healing, which is like when it gets infected and it has to heal through a scar. You So as we understand more in medicine and how physiology is capable, we can apply those exact same physiological principles into exercise science. Um, so how does that help? Well, it's not like a cut wound. Making sure a clean wound is going to help. It's more like understanding that the different factors that can influence blood clotting can influence. Like if we're talking about how does understanding a wound in medicine, like a open cut, relate back to exercise science? Well, we could talk about blood clotting, where the more it if you have a inability or a hyperability to clot, then that would greatly affect your physiological profile and could affect your training. And like if you just bleed out, I don't assume your body is good at delivering oxygen, or maybe it is really good. I don't know yet, but we can find out. That's the connection. What's the connection between blood clot performance and blood transfer? So then if people are on a medicine that creates blood thinning, you know that it's going to have B, physiological response, and we can interpret that into the weight room or under some sort of performance level conditions. So like, why is this important? And this human level is really the one that gets to me. Each person can have more freedom to choose and understand their body and its capabilities. Pain relief is a huge one, medically relieving, especially in my case. Like I've had a bunch. It's complicated, but I think that the inflammation that I've suffered for over 15 years now, I'm 30, so over half my life, was caused due to scarred tissue and improper pressure, as well as a little bit of nutritional, cofactors, but primarily a poor alignment of my skeletal structure due to injury of musculoskeletal structures. Gosh, I keep just repeating words. So basically, musculoskeletal, like my muscles in my spine or in my skeleton, have become scarred, and so that means like also the tendons, ligaments, the fascia, and that happened early on. Like since I was a little kid, I've been falling out of trees since I was a kid, and I had a really bad backland a couple times, I'm sure, but I know one was really bad. And so the adaptation and the synergistic dominance that my body naturally learned at such a young age that was uncorrected for, in my theory, created misalignment during puberty and growth. So my body, it's not like deformed at all, but I think that it just put pressure in the wrong areas as it grew and expanded, which caused my inflammation and everything. But hobbies and stuff, like even if it's video games, because I don't want to say like staying fit and everything, because it's such an overplayed trope, but let me think about how I want to describe this. I'm so close. If you value yourself as an intellectual at the least. Um, your thoughts and your ability to create intelligence is at its core physical and physiological. There could be the spirit. I'm not trying to argue anything against that, but this is the temple. And it's more of like the machine and the spirit. And if your machine runs better, your spirit can shine through better. So that's kind of like the religious take. But if you take that as an intellectual concept as well, if there's less sensors in the machine going off, if the machine functions at a high rate, then there's less for the computer to modulate. And so then the computer has more free space. Instead of fixing errors and trying to problem solve internally, it can look out. And you are the computer, obviously. Skills, pretty self-evident. I need to stop saying that things are self-evident, though. Because it's just dumb and rude. It's like I'm trying to explain, hey, here's all these things I'm trying to explain that you already know. Doesn't make sense. So if like skills for daily life, skills that you just want to learn that are fun, learn how to pick up a bow and shoot it, learn how to ski, learn how to snowboard, learn how to build a fire, do some like paleo, caveman, like outdoor stuff. Those are all physical skills you're going to need to learn. Even programming is a physical skill. Once you learn how to type, though, it's pretty much more of a mental skill, but you still got to learn how to type. And then after that, it's about if your body is in good enough shape to sit there and type for a couple hours, because like my body will start to hurt after a couple hours. Performance from everywhere, from the bedroom to the football field, or the field to the court. So when we talk about performance, it matters. Recreation is one of the most important things. I'm going to hide this economic government level 1 just because I know it's interesting. We'll get there. Recreation is one of the most important ideas of the human race. Recreation is the idea that you have free time, that you choose what you want to do in your free time. They kind of separate it into work, family, and recreation. And those can blend together, and those can be hard separated too. There's some people who go to work, take care of their family, and then go hang out with the boys. There are some people who like really love their work, and it like everyone in there is kind of like part of their family and knows their family, comes over for holidays and everything, and then you have your free time on the side. That was more like me. And then, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this. There's some people who go to work, and then, I guess there's like, 9? 2 to the power of 3? 16? I don't know. I can't math right now. Don't. Yeah, I can't think of illustrative math or proper math. I'd have to like write it out to figure it out. It's been a minute. But yeah, then the people whose family time and recreation time are one and the same. Like hanging out with you guys is my recreation. It's what I want to do in my free time. It's what, it's nice. Then every once in a while, you can get out of there and go hunt or something. And then, these are notes to me about presentation on the bottom. But family is also very important to have a good functional human body. If you want to go kick the ball with your kid, or if you want to be able to do more with your kids, keep up with them, teach them how to throw a baseball. Even if you're not good at throwing a baseball, you want to learn how to throw a baseball, so that way when your kid's old enough, you're the one who teaches them how to throw a baseball. That's beautiful. It's training. It's exercise science. We can teach you how to throw a baseball. We've been doing it thousands of people. And so this is why on the government and economic level, it's really important to have healthy people. Strong, healthy, productive, intelligent people. You don't. If any government or Illuminati thinks it's a good idea to make a population more dumb, they're absolutely retarded. Well, I guess that's a bad word. They're dumb. They're dumb. They're dumb. They're dumb. Like, I guess I mean in the Rick and Morty sense, where they're actually like retarding themselves in society and like the power that they want. They're making life much more difficult. And I'm not. Oh God, I feel like this is all gonna get taken out of context because I'm overemphasizing it and saying a word. I have no ill will against the physically abled or mentally abled. And I don't think of them as less of people at all. If even Stephen Hawking's, you know, someone who is notoriously, like, his disease took his physical movement away from him. Stayed alive for a crazy amount of years. Huge contributions to society. There's plenty of people with different mental abilities who've been in movies, art, you know, done amazing things. So forgive me for being an old man and not being with the times. But whatever. Because I'm not trying to hurt anyone. It's just a word I use. It's like the F word, the FA word, not the FU word. It's like, that's such a grow up word, but that's a word I've learned to not say as much. But being in medicine and everything, there's like, it's a technical term. And so it's a lot easier for me to use the colloquial term because I see the technical term every so often. You don't ever read a book and just read about FAs. God, are FAs is that gonna be like the new thing now? Huh, you FA? Huh, you're so gay, you FA. It's like a broken Spanish. Anyways, government level, each person needs to be more physically capable and are less of a liability to businesses and the public. So reduced injury-related missed days, reduced drag due to physical pains, compound stress, more motivation due to increased feelings of strength and confidence over themselves, less of a liability to the public too. Less injury means less intrinsic pain, and so that people can be just naturally calmer more instead of feeling like, oh, like fuck, like even right now my back is starting to hurt. So if you're just like, oh man, my back hurts, and then someone starts to get an attitude with you, you're like, I don't want to fucking hear you. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm already in enough pain. Stop it. And they keep going. You're just like, shut the fuck up. And then you get arrested. Not because you did anything, but I went 0 to 100 real quick. I don't support any kind of domestic abuse or anything. It's not just something that happens. Oh, this whole thing is trash. Because that was such an exaggeration. That's just like, how does that work? But if people aren't in as much pain, I don't know. Yeah. But we do need to dedicate more resources to PE, more attention to PE, and more advancement in PE. We do. PE is not an educational course. PE is running laps in a free period. We need to actually teach kids physical education, anatomy, physiology, key concepts. We need to bring more attention to PE because we need to really dial down what our key concepts even are. We have like, and we're getting right into this from the kinesiology with dummies thing. Don't you worry. Because we are very much beating around the bush of what our key concepts are, and this is why we need more advancement in PE. So this is a section outlined from Kinesiology for Dummies. I forget what edition, but Um, it goes over, so it's pretty good. I'm breaking this down for something a little bit later on. I was going to get into obviously the second chapter, which is history, um, history of exercise science, and we're going to start from there, like start up, actually with the history stuff. Um, but let's go over this little outline real quick. So, getting familiar with the key areas of kinesiology, forming the foundation for kinesiology. So, the key areas are biology, anatomy, physiology, chemistry, biochemistry, physics, and physiology. Why is chemistry different from biochemistry? I don't know. Biochemistry is more specific to the chemistry of like a biological system. I guess with chemistry, you can think about things more like cooking, smoking. Um, it is still kind of biochemistry because you're still dealing with foods, which are biological by their nature. You're using chemistry on them, but I guess when you're using like propane or something, and you want to know the chemistry of that in like thermal regulation, there's some in biochemistry, but if you just look at it from a chemistry standpoint, it's a division that's not very much needed. It's like saying if we needed physics and math. It's like, yeah. Anyways, in psychology, of course, the different fields of exercise, of kinesiology, blah blah blah, exercise physio, biomechanics. It's like it's a field, but it's not a job. There's no such thing as like no NFL team has just a biomechanic expert. It's usually that their conditioning coaches are also biomechanical experts, or someone in there is a biomechanical expert, but they don't have, like, you have an anesthesiologist, you don't just have a biomechanist. Um, not That's not normalized. If some people have it, maybe a pro team or two has it, like a specific branch for that, but it is not normalized for colleges for as a profession. Rehab therapy on the other side is exercise physio is kind of like the same thing, but really a strength and conditioning coach is your exercise physiologist and your biomechanist. Sport and exercise psychology, yeah, it's a cool field. Uh, Strength and conditioning. What's the difference between exercise phys and strength and conditioning? Exercise phys, you could do more of like, you're thinking more of, I think I do more exercise phys than I do strength and conditioning. Because this is, I guess you could say, theory, and this is practical. This is study. This needs study, but this is about the gym. And when you put exercise phys into the gym, it becomes way stronger. Just my theory. So that's why I've studied so hard in exercise physiology, because when I bring that stuff over into strength and conditioning, it's going to blow the world up. Athletics, sports and athletics, self-explanatory. I said I was going to stop doing that. Yeah, it could be like interchangeable in a lot of these strength and conditioning. Some of this I'm like, they're trying to fill space. Fitness and wellness. It's just such a vague category, because that's basically like Gen Pop is what they're talking about, fitness and wellness. But there's also medical, and they could just say Gen Pop. So the idea is that we're going to be going over information and reviewing it and trying to clean it up a little bit better, make it a little bit easier to understand. Not that this is hard to understand, but just looking for clarity. I've been hypercritical on all of this for years, so trying to get it to work. Understanding the many systems that make up the human body, brain and nervous system, which is also part of the nervous system. The brain is, just so you know, the circulatory system, the I wonder what they missed. The cardiorespiratory system, which is two systems in one. Well, I guess they split the circulatory and cardiorespiratory. So this is your veins and arteries and your heart by technicality, and this is your heart and lungs working together. Skeletal system, muscular system, endocrine system. Did they miss anything? They got the respiratory system, they got the endocrine system, they got the nervous system. I'm trying to think about big ones, because like I separated them different. Digestive system is very much important to understand. I know it doesn't feel like it is, but it is, because that's how you understand things like Gatorade, by understanding those different processes. So Gatorade is effective because it's a glucose fructose mixture. Understanding the digestive system, you would learn that in the digestive system, fructose and glucose are absorbed through two different tracks. So there's a channel for fructose and there's a channel for glucose. So if you have just a glucose diet, just sugar, then it really only goes into this one channel. Some of these might be able to cross, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say that they're very much you can't cross. And if you had a high fructose corn syrup diet, like many Westerns, then you're just using the fructose side. But if you're using a mixture of glucose and fructose, then it splits. And the reason your body can turn glucose into fructose after it gets into you. It has to be absorbed first, and the liver can do some crazy things and a bunch of enzymes. But to get into the body, there's two channels, and you need that. And that's how Gatorade got so good at rehydration, because carbs also help your cells rehydrate, which is why it's effective. So this is where I get messed up in this chapter. So they say understanding the many systems the body have. Then we'll go into like studying the biomechanics, and then we'll focus on the health. And then this is where it should be. It should. Everything is trying to be there. Understanding. Let's just do this right now. Boom, 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 boom. New edit. Understanding the health enhancement aspects of movement. This is not in the book. It's very important. Okay, so not just focusing on them. So these. Let's pull this up real quick. Just how, example, reduce blood pressure and a stronger heart. Cardio. Many of you don't know what. That's rude. There's a very common misunderstanding of cardio, so I'm not sure if people understand when I say cardio what I mean by cardio. But we're gonna just do this basically. Cardio increases. It's just a slight nuance, but it's important. It's like vasodilation. I'm trying to remember all these words. And let's define it. Yeah. Yep. And these are just strength dogmas. And a stronger heart. Yeah, and because a stronger heart's kind of like, I'm talking about the musculature. So, example on specifics, if you run cardio, the bottom cavities get thicker. Then top, if you swim cardio, the heart gets thicker. And we're not talking about swelling. So I'm just going to put that here. Non-swelling. Non-swelling. Through, I don't know why I feel like hankering right now. A more distributed fashion. So this is where it starts to become really important. You can focus on the health aspects and tell people that, yeah, exercise reduces blood pressure and makes a stronger heart. Exercise increases bone density. Exercise improves cholesterol, blah, blah, blah. How? How does it do that? And then in what different ways? So like when you have these specifics, if this is this might be of importance to the cardiologist and the doctor. Be like, all right, well, your heart is bottoming out, so we're going to put you on a swimming program more. I don't know. That's just a hypothetical. I don't know if that's applicable. So how do bones strengthen when everyone thinks they are dead tissue? When many thinks they're dead tissue, 'cause they are not dead tissue. Pressure and calcium secretions. Improve blood cholesterol. Because nutrition dependent unless exercise can improve the body's ability to process cholesterols. I think LDLs are the bad one because they're just bigger and they get clogged up. Probably both each. I'm just gonna put both and LDLs. And then you can pick your poison, pick your enemy. Stronger immune system. Better response times. Less energy depletion. Because body is better at energy management with training. This is hard. Correlation at the minimum. So that's like, alright, I don't want things to get too crazy on us. Oh yeah, exercise can reduce cancer. Probably at this point. Possibly, yes. Probably it's looking pretty good. Especially when, what was it, mixed with vitamin D and fish oil. Reduce stress and anxiety and depression. Physiological relief. It could be the missing ingredient for what you need. It's not, maybe what you need isn't a medicine. Maybe what you need is clearer waterways so that things can flow better. Less stress from physical pains and injuries, or at least more manageable, capable. So it still hurts, but you can do it, and you've already dealt with this pain for so long that you're just like, I'm just happy I can fucking do it. Anxiety. More complex. depends on type of training, because something like CrossFit or only HIIT training might increase anxiety in some. Depression. Yeah. Clear the paths to help the flow return. And it's like tied in, tied out, tied in, tied out. So you'll clear the path, and the tide will come in and the water will flow. And then the water will come back out and you'll be depressed again. And then the tide will come back in and it'll flow. And as long as you keep that path clean and maintained, the water will keep flowing in and keep coming out. And as it keeps doing that, it's going to dig a channel. It's going to keep pushing a little bit farther deeper and a little bit deeper until one day, boom, it's a river. And you'll still get depressed, like you'll still get some backwash, but you'll have a solid channel going forward. And you know, shit can happen in life. A tree falls in your lake, beavers come out of nowhere and start building a dam. I don't know if you guys watch any of that guy online. Post 9, Post 10, Post 42. I don't remember. He's the guy who goes around and just like cleans culvers. I didn't know they were called culvers until him. He cleans drains, ditches, and it's like some of the most satisfying videos. Anyways, that's kind of like a rough breakdown of what I'm wanting to do, what I'm trying to do. Yeah, so I'm going to try and make at least a weekly video updating on this stuff, but we'll see. Thanks for watching.